I'm going to veer off the path of my usual style of videos and try to mix it up a bit and combine my two favorite things, Baldur's Gate 3 and Magic the Gathering. These streams have already been crossed back when Wizards of the Coast released Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate back in summer 2022. But that's just the thing. This Magic set came out over a year before the actual game was released. How could they have possibly gotten all of our favorite characters in-game lore accurate? Well, they actually did a pretty awesome job flavoring a lot of the iconic characters. The only real issue is, a lot of them are missing. Obviously, they didn't want to fill this Magic set with a bunch of spoilers, which would have pissed a lot of us off in the long run, and for that I'm thankful. But I want more. I crave more Baldur's Gate cards. So much so that I've taken it upon myself to create some custom cards in hopes that they'll inspire future Magic developers. For now, I've decided to focus on the game's unique villains, namely the Chosen of the Dead 3. Bane, Baal, and Mercule actually got cards in the 2022 set release, and they're pretty awesome, even though they don't see a ton of play. I want to play off the gods that they already designed, so I've made it so that each of the Chosen's colors share that of their gods. Let's start off with everyone's favorite tyrant, Lord Inver Gortash. To get an idea for his design, let's first take a look at his god, Bane, the Lord of Darkness. An Esper god that reads, as long as your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, Bane, the Lord of Darkness, has indestructible. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, target opponent may have you draw a card. If they don't, you may put a creature card with equal or lesser toughness from your hand onto the battlefield. Firstly, I love that first block of text. If you're at half health, Bane has indestructible. It's a great way to play off Gortash, maybe calling on his god in the second half when things are looking bad. But what about when he doesn't need help? What about when you're above half health? I like to think that's when the Chosen of the Dead 3 really shine. My Gortash card would read something like, as long as your life total is greater than or equal to half your starting life total, Lord Inver Gortash has Ward 3. If you're going to go after Gortash while he's locked away tightly in Worm's Rock, you're going to have to work for it. What kind of duke would he be without a little bit of protection? And since our boy has been recently coordinated, it's only fair that when Lord Inver Gortash enters the battlefield, you become the Monarch. Off to a good start, but let's try to tie him into his god a little more. When I look at Bane, all I can think is, why wouldn't that opponent just always have you draw a card? Cheating a creature into play is certainly worse than drawing a single card. Well, what if we made that card draw just a little more dangerous? Whenever you draw your second card each turn, target player creates a tapped treasure token and you create a tapped 3/3 colorless golem artifact creature token. Now your opponents will be a little less eager to let you draw that second card each turn. Or will they? Lord Gortash's ability does let him give a treasure to any player, so maybe with some charisma you might be able to strike some deals and make some allies. Or, well, you know, hoard the gold for yourself as you slowly amass an army of Steel Watch golems to protect your life total and your monarchy. I tried to design it so that his deck would play kind of sneaky and political. Right out the gate, you cast him and you have your Monarch, which lets you draw a card at the end of your turn, so you're going to at least get that tapped treasure and that golem for free the turn he comes out. Alongside Bane, I would definitely put in a lot of instant speed card draw, ways to activate his ability on other people's turns, some artifact payoffs, and plenty of political cards for flavor. But for each of the Chosen, I've also crafted a signature sorcery spell that will always turn the tides in your favor. For Gortash, it's Edict of Bane. Choose one. If you control your commander as you cast the spell, you may choose both. Tap all creatures target opponent controls. And target opponent loses X life, and you gain X life, where X is the number of tapped creatures they control. The ultimate betrayal once your allies have served their purpose. Let them build up a board with all the treasures you've so kindly gifted them, only to knock them out with a massive dream. Or run them down with your army of Steel Watch while their defenses are lowered.
Ketheric had an army of corpses and a crumbling tower. I have a city and an army of steel.
I think Gortash is pretty nasty, and rightfully so. He's a cool character. Now we're going to take a look at Orin the Red, the murder mommy herself. Her god Baal reads, as long as your life total is less than or equal to your starting life total, Baal, Lord of Murder, is indestructible. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature and goad it. Lots of similarities to the other god we just looked at. For me, this looks like a group slug kind of deck, where the goal is to just encourage violence by any means necessary for the sake of murder. No one comes up against Orin the Red unscathed, so of course we're going to have to give her Death Touch. And just like we did with Gortash, Orin reflects her god, becoming more powerful if she's above half health. As long as your life total is greater than or equal to half your starting life total, Orin the Red has Haste and Menace. Death Touch, Haste, and Menace. Oh my god, that is no joke. But remember, she needs to reflect the ability of her god Baal, who wants to see her own creatures die for that sake of violence. Which is why Orin also has Devour 1. As this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This creature enters the battlefield with that many +1/+1 counters on it. She doesn't know loyalty, of course she's going to kill her whole team to get stronger. I want Orin to instill fear in my opponents when she shows up, making her entering the battlefield splashy, sudden, and very aggressive.
A crypt-born effigy to great Baal's bleeding dawn!
But wait, there's more. She's Baal's chosen after all, and we can't have a proper Orin the Red card without showcasing some of her cool shapeshifting abilities. When Orin the Red attacks, you may have it become a copy of any creature on the battlefield with equal power until the end of turn. It's a changeling in addition to its other types. It's a lot, but this completes the unpredictable nature of Orin and adds some interesting decision making when choosing how many of your own creatures you're going to sacrifice with her Devour. With the right board, you can basically choose her power and have her come in swinging as anything on the battlefield. And if Baal is out, you'll be able to effectively double her +1/+1 counters or goad the entire board to ensure that the murdering never ends. In addition to her god Baal, you definitely want to include plenty of goad mechanics. I would do double damagers and plenty of expendable creatures to murder upon her arrival. For her signature spell, we have the Lash of Baal. Choose one. If you control your commander as you cast the spell, you may choose both. Opponents can't gain life or declare blocks until the start of your next turn. And put a double strike counter on target creature, then goad each creature that had a double strike counter put on it this way. Yikes! If Orin is big enough with +1/+1 counters, you could give her double strike and have her swing in for unblocked lethal damage the turn you cast this. Or sit back cackling and watch your opponents throw caution to the wind and swing out in a glorious display of violence in the name of Baal. At this point you might be thinking, damn Proto-Tom, these cards are a little complicated and seem a little busted, to which I would respond, have you seen Magic cards lately? Our final chosen, and honestly, the hardest one to design of all of them, is General Ketheric Thorm. Chosen of Myrkul, Lord of Bones and the God of Death, whose card says, as long as your life total is less than or equal to half your starting life total, Myrkul, the Lord of Bones, is indestructible. Checks out just like the other gods, but let's keep reading. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an enchantment and loses all other types. That's pretty crazy, and hard to have a guy who synergizes with, but we're going to try our best. Let's try to give the general something to relate. Firstly, as long as your life total is greater than or equal to half your starting life total, General Ketheric Thorm has Lifelink and Vigilance. With Lifelink and Vigilance, he should have enough life gain to assure that he stays above that half health marker to keep the hits coming. I want Ketheric Thorm to feel indestructible. In the game, Ketheric cannot die as long as he has the Night Song imprisoned, and in Magic terms, I think it would read something kind of like this. For 1 and a black, target non-aura enchantment becomes an aura and is attached to General Ketheric Thorm and gains Totem Armor. Totem Armor says, if an enchanted creature would be destroyed, instead remove all the damage from it and destroy this aura instead. That should make him pretty hard to deal with. As long as you've got non-token enchantments, you can just pay 2 and attach them to the General and keep him alive for as long as you want. I know it's a lot of text already, but we gotta add something, otherwise he's just a 5/5 indestructible with Vigilance sometimes. So we've also added, when General Ketheric Thorm attacks, amass zombies X, where X is the number of auras attached to General Ketheric Thorm. Now it makes sense why his CMC is so high. In a perfect world, you're gonna attach as many auras to this guy as possible. It would definitely be a very mana intensive and aura heavy deck that would probably end up playing kind of like a Voltron. Amass Zombies is very powerful, and it would be cool to swing with Ketheric Thorm and make a 10-10 zombie army. But don't forget, we also have his signature sorcery. This one's called the Testament of Myrkul. Choose one. If you control your commander as you cast a spell, guess what? You may choose both. Each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature for each enchantment they control. And Amass Zombies X, where X is the number of permanents in your opponent's graveyards. This deck could potentially have a very, very big zombie army token. This spell alone, you could amass a 42/42 zombie army. Here's the part that made this a little tricky though. General Ketheric Thorm is a general, but he doesn't really have a zombie army. His army is a bunch of everything. He's got goblins and ogres and cultists and pretty much anything else that's down to fight for the absolute. A buddy of mine said that he should make incubate tokens since in the game he actually incubates little necromites, but dude, there's already so much text on this guy. What do you want me to do? Help me out in the comments. How would you guys design Ketheric Thorm, or the other gods for that sake? Did I make them too powerful? Are they not powerful enough? How many more lines of text would you try to squeeze into these? And what do you think of their signature spells? How would you guys design these? Because the possibilities are endless with something like that. So there we have it. Magic cards for the Chosen of the Dead 3. And a signature spell for each of them to boot. Let me know what you guys think about this style of video, and let me know if you'd be interested in me designing any other characters from Baldur's Gate that deserve a magic card but didn't get their chance in the spotlight just yet. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with in the comments. And if enough people seem to like this, I'll make another one.